We put the defense fleets of Coruscant and Biss head to head on today's episode of Star Wars Versus. Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another episode of Star Wars Versus. Today we're tackling one of my most commonly requested matchups, putting the Coruscant Defense fleet against the Byss Defense fleet. This is definitely one of the largest space battles you can imagine in Star Wars, so I think today's video will be fun. If you'd like to suggest videos like this and see what other people are suggesting, make sure to follow me on Twitter and join the EckhartsLadder Discord, which is nearing 8,000 members. So we'll start off with a breakdown of each faction, then at the end I'll give my opinion on who I think would win and ask you guys to do the same. Let's start first with the Byss Defense fleet, a military force under the command of Emperor Palpatine during the Dark Empire arc. Technically, the Byss Defense fleet only referred to the large collection of ships over the planet Biss. However, I'm going to use the term to refer to all ships used by Emperor Palpatine during Operation Shadow Hand. As some background, after the defeat of Grand Admiral Thrawn, Imperial warships secretly rendezvoused in the Deep Core, where, under the command of a reborn Palpatine, they struck out against the Republic. They were extremely successful, capturing a large portion of the galaxy and returning thousands of worlds to Imperial rule, including Coruscant. However, at the end of the campaign, the throne world of Biss is destroyed, Palpatine is killed for a second time, and the Empire loses their galaxy gun and the Eclipse II dreadnought. The Dark Empire's military forces are first spotted by Luke Skywalker after he is sucked through one of Palpatine's force storms. He calls it the Nexus of the Dark Side. The interesting thing about the Dark Empire is that Palpatine used the best available technology in creating his new military. He relied heavily on large ships like Allegiance battlecruisers or mini dreadnoughts like the Venator, as well as super weapons like World Devastators and dark side imbued technology like shadow droids. I can't cover everything that he brought to bear, so I'm going to focus on a few key assets which I think deserve a bit more attention. First off, we have the Eclipse dreadnoughts. Technically at their prime, the Empire had 2 of these ships, plus at least 4 of its cousin ship, the Sovereign. All were armed with powerful capital ship killing lasers. The Eclipse, and to a lesser degree the Sovereign, were massive, several times larger than even a traditional Super Star Destroyer, nearly indestructible, armed with powerful traditional turbo lasers, and loaded with thousands of fighters. They were pure symbols of fear, and just their presence was enough to shock some pilots into submission. We also have the World Devastators, vessels capable of consuming materials and pumping out new assets. Really, with a battle of the scale of what we're talking about here, the asset production aspect of the World Devastators won't be super important. However, they were also incredibly destructive, and the New Republic found them almost impossible to destroy. They were only defeated at Mon Calamari through the use of stolen Imperial control codes. On the starfighter end, the Empire heavily used TIE-D automated fighters and shadow droids. Shadow droids were well armed, extraordinarily maneuverable, and shielded, while TIE-Ds were an effective but disposable starfighter. I also want to call out the Imperial ship variety. Instead of relying solely on Star Destroyers, we see that the Dark Empire heavily used battle cruisers and even larger vessels, while also supporting the large ships with support craft. The question is, how many ships are there exactly? We know that they overwhelmed the New Republic and, striking from the core, waged war on multiple fronts, taking back thousands of planets, all while massing hundreds of ships at the core. Luke sees what I believe to be a representation of a few hundred or perhaps thousands of ships around the planet Biss. However, at the Battle of Mon Calamari and Pinnacle Base, both very important engagements, it seems like the Empire brought at most a few dozen ships. So there's definitely some inconsistency here. Logically, we know that at its prime, the Empire had tens of thousands of Star Destroyers and other capital ships. By this point, 10 years after the Battle of Yavin, the Navy had been largely destroyed due to infighting and wars against the New Republic, with many Imperial warlords fully established and carving away their own personal empire and hoarding ships. Given those facts, and recognizing that many Imperial warlords and Imperials generally did not heed the call of Palpatine, and that thousands of ships had defected to other factions or been captured by the New Republic, I'll give the Dark Empire fleet here 1,000 to 2,000 ships, with a large portion of those being Star Destroyer class or above. The Dark Empire here, however, will not have access to its galaxy gun, and will not be led by a Force-sensitive Palpatine. Next up, we have the Coruscant Defense Fleet. I've covered the Republic's forces at the Battle of Courscant several times on my channel, one time really in depth, so I'll be extremely brief here. If you want to see more, click the annotation in the top right corner. The idea of an actual Coruscant defense fleet is somewhat nebulous. Obviously, there was a home fleet stationed around the planet at all times, but I think when people have asked for this matchup, they'd rather see all of the ships involved in the defense of Coruscant during the actual battle. According to my research, that gives us about 1,000 Venators from the initial home fleet, as well as several thousand more reinforcements. The Order 66 book specifically states that ships were arriving nightly in the thousands, so much so that the Coruscant communication network was completely overwhelmed. Some of these ships were also never before seen, and were referred to as Palpatine's secret military. Previously, I've stated that the Republic made use of 5,000 to 10,000 capital ships, which I think is consistent with the numbers we were given in Legends sources. Let's bring us to the battle itself. Basically, we have the near full might of the Republic going against a portion of the far more militarized Empire, further developed under Palpatine's Dark Empire. And again, the focus here is on ships, so the pilots don't matter, the Republic doesn't get their Jedi, for example. We're talking military assets. So how does this battle go down? Well, I think it's obvious that the Byss Defense fleet will be immediately overwhelmed by the incredible number of ships used by the Republic. I didn't specifically state numbers because there's really no clarity there, but the Republic most likely had 3 to 4 times as many vessels. That being said, the standard ship used by the Byss Defense fleet was much more powerful, at least in a traditional sense. And if it were just the ships themselves slugging it out, I would actually give the advantage to the Empire. Something like an Allegiance, especially when partnered with other ships, can easily withstand an assault from multiple, much less powerful Venators. And to be honest, overall, I've gone back and forth on this matchup. Initially, I thought just due to the size advantage, the Coruscant Defense fleet would easily win. But then I started thinking about just how powerful a single warship within the Dark Empire was. I kind of swung the other way. I think overall, the game changer here is Starfighters. Starfighters were key in the Alliance's victories against the Empire, and the Republic focuses heavily on carrying ships into battle, much more than the Empire. The Venator is a self-sufficient carrier, and those starfighters I think will help wreak havoc against the war machines of the Empire. What's more, it's the Dark Empire's dreadnoughts which will cause the Republic most trouble. The starfighters should really help even the score there. What's more, some of Palpatine's secret fleet was likely made up of early Imperial SDs, which help cover some of the power discrepancy. Overall, I give the Republic this victory 7 times out of 10. I think they've got a humongous number advantage, at least 3 to 4 times as many ships, perhaps more. But the ships of the Dark Empire, especially the Eclipse Dreadnoughts, the Sovereigns, and the Mini Dreadnoughts, will help even that difference. However, the starfighter advantage of the Republic cannot be countered, which is why they get the win. That, however, is just my opinion. What do you think? How many ships did each side use? Which had a bigger fleet overall? Am I mischaracterizing the size of the Republic fleet or the Dark Empire fleet? Let me know all of that and more, as well as, most importantly, who would win down in the comments section. On a brief note, I would like to thank everyone who's checked out the newest episode of my Thrawn's Revenge series on my second channel. The video is doing really well, and I've talked about before how I'd like to get into producing more gaming stuff on my second channel, while also not sacrificing the quality or quantity of content on my main channel, and just supporting me like this really helps. And again, if you want to further get involved with the things I'm doing on YouTube and beyond, make sure to follow me on Twitter, Discord, and Twitch. Thanks again for watching, guys. Until next time, this has been EckhartsLadder. May the Force be with you.